Hi, my name is Marlena. In the past, I've attended the Spouse Loss Support Group at the Edina Grief Coalition, and I also was a spouse loss facilitator there for 5 years. So if you're watching this video, I know that you've lost someone you love, and I just want to say I'm so sorry. Grief is such a hard thing to get through. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story, and I hope you'll understand that I know what you're going through. My husband died suddenly 11 years ago. We had been married for 27 years and together for almost 30. So I was completely devastated when he died, and I really felt that my life was over. I also want to give you a little bit of my background from my childhood because that greatly impacted how I grieved. I was brought up on a farm in a very dysfunctional environment, the middle child of 7. I was basically, as we all were, all my siblings, brought into the world for farm labor. There was verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. It was a harsh, joyless existence and so profoundly lonely. I left home at age 17, 2 weeks after graduating from high school, and I turned down a small scholarship for college because I didn't want it. I just wanted to find somebody to love me. I kind of made that my mission in life after leaving high school. I found a job and a place to live, and I was on my own. I was very introverted. I felt insecure and insignificant. I was emotionally and socially undeveloped, and I had a lot of harsh, critical judgments of how the world was. I did not think the world was a good place to be in. I was unaware that parents hugged your children. I had no idea. I knew how to exist, but I didn't know how to live. I made the classic mistake that many girls do who come from abusive childhoods. I married my father, and my first husband was abusive, and that marriage lasted less than 2 years. But then 3 years later, my knight in shining armor did arrive. His name was Roger. He was kind, loving, loyal, supportive, gentle, and genuine with a vibrant personality. The king of small talk, always with a smile. Together we forged a very strong, loving relationship. We were never in the same room without touching. We could communicate without speaking. I knew I was loved unconditionally, and I wrapped my life around his. He was my rock and my protector. He could always lift me up if I were down. I was estranged from my family, and for many reasons we didn't have children, so I didn't have family, I didn't have children, but I had Roger, and then I didn't. Roger died suddenly in 2008 from multiple organ failure following surgery for a ruptured mitral valve to his heart. He was in perfect health, so it was a shock. That's when my little world fell apart, and I was catapulted once again into a life that was about existing and not living. I once more felt that unbearable loneliness. I carried a profound sadness in my heart, and I wore my heart on my sleeve. Because I had no familial support, I felt truly so alone in the world. I had only my friends, and I was crushed by a lot of the friends that left me alone with my pain. Most of the friendships I had were permanently altered. A lot of the couples' friendships drifted away. It's interesting how you can be with someone, the love of your life, for so many years, and when they're gone, society expects you to just get over it in about 1 year. Move on. That wasn't going to happen for me. I took a long, slow dive into the darkness. Months after Roger died, I was diagnosed with complicated grief and major depressive disorder. Still, I was a highly functioning depressed person. That was something I had learned in childhood. I tried every remedy to help myself. I read all the books on grief, I journaled, I volunteered, I joined many different clubs, I baked cookies galore, I went to grief support and grief counseling, I tried cognitive therapy, self-hypnosis, meditation, qigong. Finally, I agreed to go on an antidepressant, and I think this is what I probably needed the most given my family's history of mental illness and depression. And so I did come through it, but it took a long time. Because grief isn't something that you ever get over. You just get through it. You learn to live your life around it and to build your life around it. I just want to say that losing friendships at a time when you need them most is maybe one of the hardest secondary losses of grief. If you experience this, please know you are not alone. And this is for many who are grieving. Part of grief is losing friendships and friendships changing. Many people just don't have the capacity to stay with you for as long as it takes to grieve. But there may be other people who will surprise you with their empathy, people that maybe you weren't expecting that from. And in time, I'm sure you will make also some new friends while you're on your new path in life. Right now, with the current state of the world, this is especially challenging with the social distancing and all the social and supportive opportunities being closed. So sometimes you might think that you should be doing better if you don't have those social support networks, because you're spending a lot of time alone, maybe thinking more about things, and you might think, hey, I should be further along. Well, please don't think that, because it just takes as long as it takes, and this is when you need to practice self-compassion and not be hard at yourself. Self-compassion sometimes means just saying to yourself at the end of the day, I will try again tomorrow, because some days that's all you can do is just try again. The inability to share your grief with others can make the grieving process much more difficult. So that means you have some hard work to do in reaching out to people, because we may feel that people should be calling us, and rightly so, but now it's important to try to connect with at least, hopefully, one person every day. Make a list of people you can call and make a schedule to make sure you call them. Hopefully you have family members and friends who are supportive and empathetic. When I was facilitating, I always told the people in my group, treat yourself as if you're in intensive care, because after all, your heart is broken. Practice self-care and self-compassion. Grief takes as long as it takes, because love doesn't have an expiration date, and so then grief doesn't either. Accept how you are feeling now, and remember, your feelings will probably change constantly. Self-care is number one. Stay healthy. Make sure you are eating, staying hydrated, and getting enough sleep. Walk, exercise, do yoga. Just move your body. There are lots of YouTube videos to help you get moving. Alternate between loss and healing activities. We need to have space for grieving, because we cannot get through what we do not feel. So that's very important. So give yourself time to look at photos, to remember, to lay on the bed and cry, to talk to a friend about your loved one. There are things you can consider doing, like making a memory album or a collage of your loved one, or write your loved one a letter. Then give yourself, after that, permission to have moments of happiness and laughter. Try to create a daily routine. And what things can you do when you're so isolated? Well, I think it helps to try to resolve to try one new thing, just one, a new hobby. Find something that sparks your interest, look in magazines or online for ideas, start a craft project, work on a puzzle, make a specialty meal using Google or YouTube, do a home project, redecorate a room or clean out a closet. Take a virtual tour to some place that you've always wanted to visit or want to visit again. Plant something in your garden or in a pot. Nurture it, watch it grow. Read books or listen to audiobooks. A lot of libraries are now open again with curbside service. Try a new television series on Netflix. In the same token, try to limit how much news you want, since it's not real uplifting these days, although I do think things seem to be getting better. Instead of watching the news, think of how your loved one would want you to respond to these current circumstances as a way of generating some coping strategies for yourself. I'm a big proponent of journaling because grief needs to be expressed. It helps to get your feelings out, and it also gives you a reference point to how far you've come and how much you've accomplished. And if you journal, and 6 months or a year from now, I think you will be surprised when you realize how much your feelings have changed, and how better, not how better, but how much you've accomplished in 6 months or a year, how far you've come, because every day is a step forward, and all those days and steps add up to a lot, and you will be surprised. Another thing you could do is consider asking friends and family to write a favorite memory of your loved one, and that gives you something to turn to when you need extra comfort. Consider finding an online grief therapist if you feel that would help you. You can just Google grief counselors in your area. Plan for your future, because you do have a future. Even though you might not feel like it right now at this moment, you have a future. A future where you carry your grief with you, but you still move forward with less obstacles and pain. Part of recovery is the reluctant acceptance of a new reality, and that requires a different way of looking at your life right now. You will never be the person you were. You can only be a new person. So who do you want to be? How do you want to live your life? Make a bucket list. Make a goals list. Plan for an event when isolation is over. A trip, a short trip, a long trip, dinner with friends. Make a list of things you'd like to do when the world is in a better orbit. Volunteer, help others, and you help yourself. There's a website, www.handsontwincities.org, that is a great resource for volunteer opportunities. Travel, start a new hobby, join a new club. You can go to www.meetup.com for ideas. Social clubs aren't meeting right now, but you can still join in online. For almost any interest you have, there is almost certainly a meetup group. Also, in these times of stay-at-home and social distancing, it's important to be proactive with dates that are especially hard to cope with. like birthdays, wedding anniversaries, date of death anniversaries, and also holidays. Try to plan ahead of time how you will spend that day. Can you spend part of the day with family or friends? Do a social distance walk with someone? Buy a card for your loved one and write in it. Make a memory box of special belongings. Light a candle and listen to music. Take a drive. Walk in nature. Make a memorial donation to a charity. Start a gratitude journal. Write about a favorite memory of your loved one, or write him a poem or her a poem. Buy yourself flowers, and that goes for guys too. Buy a special dessert. Have dinner delivered. When things open up more, get a massage, a mani, a pedi, a facial. We need that human touch. That goes for guys too. Whatever brings you comfort. If you just want to be alone, that's okay. But I think it helps to have a plan and at least one ritual that you do. And maybe try a new tradition. Maybe don't try to make it the same as it always was. It just really helps, though, to have a plan. I know you've probably heard this before. You are watching this because you are a survivor, because you are trying to navigate the new path that life has thrown you, because you have courage. It takes courage to learn how to live life independently. It also takes patience and time. But the passage of time in itself does not heal. You can't sit and wait and think that the grief is going to go away. You have to do the work. You must do the hard work. It isn't easy. There is a continual struggle to adjust and move forward amidst all the broken pieces. But you will find your way and come through it. Just remember, work, patience, time, and a little tenderness for yourself. Make that a lot of tenderness. I'm sending you a virtual hug. Please take good care of yourself.